Hello, all you film freaks and movie maniacs out there. My name is Nolan Carr, and I'd like to welcome you to the go-to podcast for all things cinema. But before you can ask any questions, just sit back, relax, as I present to you a Strawlane Studio Productions Critiquing with Carr. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another great edition of the show. As always, if you enjoyed great episodes like this one, do us a favor by subscribing on YouTube, following on audio platforms, clicking on thumbs up or like buttons so you can tell us you enjoy these episodes, as well as turning on post notifications so you can stay up to date when episodes release on these platforms. Also, if you want other ways to stay up to date with the show, do us a favor by following us on Instagram at Critiquing with Carr. That's because what we're discussing today is my list of 10 films for Volume 5 that I watched so far. With that being said, let's begin. Coming in at number 10 on my list of films I watched so far for Volume 5 is Modern Times. Even if this movie was made at the minimum 30 to 40 years after it was originally released, this movie still doesn't cut the mustard for me completely. Sure, is Charlie Chaplin a great physical comedian? Yes, most definitely. But is he a great actor in general besides The Great Dictator? No, he certainly isn't. The story was nice for a decent chunk of the movie, but after he met up with that runaway girl and they found the shack by the water, I lost its lust and my interest as well. Coming in at number 9 on my list of films I watched for Volume 5 was Whiplash. To tell you the truth, I honestly don't see the hype in this movie. I can't comprehend why this is so beloved by so many people who enjoy movies, particularly those who are in college and self-title themselves film bros or cinephiles. The character of Andrew is a complete beta turned somewhat gamma male, and J.K. Simmons' character quickly loses his luster after picking Andrew to join his band early on in the movie. Sure, the length of the movie is nice, the movie can easily be followed, but overall I don't like this movie and it deserves the spot it falls at in this list. Coming in at number 8 on my list of films I watched for Volume 5 was Harakiri. In my honest and most humblest opinion, besides The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise, there are no quality samurai movies. Sure, there were a few minor characters that were enjoyable, but overall, none of the core cast could garner my support or interest in this film. The story was really long and shallow in terms of excitement for the viewer. Unlike Seven Samurai, the ending was terrible and there was very little to no action whatsoever in this movie, which is very disappointing given the type of movie it is. Coming in at number 7 on my list of films I watched for Volume 5 was The Usual Suspects. To tell you the truth, what a disappointment this movie was in my opinion. I say that because there are a decent amount of 90s films I really like. However, this was not one of them. From a group perspective, The Usual Suspects weren't that believable as arch criminals causing havoc. Then again, maybe that was the intent of the movie. I thought that the higher power prior to the grand reveal during the finale wasn't convincing enough, especially Pete Postlewaite's character and who he was working for. However, I did like the McManus and Rebel Kint characters in all honesty. I thought the way that Kint played Dave Kujan during his interrogation was expertly done from an acting perspective. Overall, this movie was a dud in my book. Coming at number 6 on my list of films I watched for Volume 5 was Cinema Paradiso. Cinema Paradiso is a funny one. This movie isn't phenomenal, but also isn't terrible like some of its predecessors. While the characters are relatable and enjoyable to an extent, they aren't out of this world and only gain a great appreciation later in the film. I believe that this movie was an hour too long, the vocal dubbing was terrible, and some of the makeup and prosthetic work was not up to par as well. However, the story, the message it's conveying to viewers about true love, self-belief, and following your dreams was well done. Coming in at number 5 on my list of films I watched for Volume 5 was The Prestige. If you want an example of movies with the perfect amount of execution of build up towards the great conclusion, look no further. I really enjoyed the premise of the story and the back and forth tit for tat battle Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman's characters had throughout the film, even if I thought Jackman's character was the weaker of the two. Coming in at number 4 on my list of films I watched for Volume 5 was The Untouchables. What I will say about this movie that I didn't like is how slow it is. Sure, there's action, but not as much as I thought there was, given that this was my first viewing. This was also one of those movies where the lead character was surprisingly not the most enjoyable, as I couldn't really connect to Elliot Ness at any point during the movie. I really enjoyed Sir Sean Connery in the movie and thought he put on a very much deserved Academy and Golden Globe Award performance. I thought that The Untouchables meshed really well together for a group perspective while overshadowing the near complete absence of Robert De Niro in this movie as Al Capone. Coming at number 3 on my list of films I watched for Volume 5 was Casablanca. Casablanca is an interesting movie in my opinion. Before watching it while looking at my list of upcoming movies to watch, I was honestly cautiously optimistic about it. I was optimistic about the movie given the year it came out and that it was in black and white. Although I thought these things, as well as other common possibilities like a slow plot, I was certainly wrong from a wider angle. Does this movie have a lot of action like its successors on this list? No, it certainly in no way does have that. But what it does have is a legendary cast, nice story progression, and a pretty decent presentation, a plot that one can enjoy once you get over the hump at the beginning of the movie. Also, and in conclusion, I should say, Humphrey Bogart is the textbook definition of cool and what an actor should be presented as when it comes to being on the silver screen. Coming in at number 2 on my list of films I watched for Volume 5 was Grave of the Fireflies. Although this movie isn't the very best I've seen in this batch of films, it certainly sits comfortably in the top 3 of this list of movies. The animation, on par with the quality of other Studio Ghibli films, is very well done. The brother and sister lead characters were actually likable and could be rooted for in this movie from beginning to end. There's plenty of drama and certainly adventure as well. And my few gripes about this movie is that it's not on any major streaming service, thus causing my computer to get several X-rated ads while watching it.
Coming in at number 1 on my list of films I watched so far for Volume 5 was Oppenheimer. As much as I enjoyed watching this movie when it first came out in theaters, I so much enjoyed it watching this movie even for the second time when viewing it for this podcast. From start to finish, this movie was excellent across the board. Cillian Murphy and Robert Downey Jr. reigned supreme in their roles for this film. This movie is chock filled with plenty of suspense, action, dialogue, and emotion. In comparison to this movie, none of its predecessors come close to the greatness of this movie, which is why it sits firmly in place as first, my favorite films I watched so far for Volume 5. And with that being said, my film freaks and cinephiles, as we celebrate the final edition of our Volume 5 for the 50 movies I watched so far, I have a few more things to discuss with you. As always, if you've enjoyed episodes like this one, do us a favor by subscribing on YouTube, following us on the audio platforms, clicking that thumbs up or like button so you can tell us you enjoy these episodes, turning on post notifications so you can stay up to date when episodes release on those platforms, as well as clicking that share arrow so you can continue to grow the podcast with all your friends and family. If you want other ways to stay up to date with the show for great episodes like this one, do us a favor by following us on Instagram at Critiquing with Carr. And with that being said, my film freaks and cinephiles, happy viewing and take care.